Hi guys, this is GSMDome and I'm here with the unboxing of the brand new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. It was unveiled on January 22nd, should be selling all over the world in early February, and here we are. So first things first, the S Pen doesn't have Bluetooth anymore. Some people have been disappointed by that, but you can buy a separate one with Bluetooth. The price is $1,299. The device has a very flat frame, but now it has curved corners. Reinforced screen, larger screen, brand new ultra-wide camera, the option to clip sound, extra options for editing pictures, and generative AI with words. This time you can generate photos with words. Now we're going to see what's in the box, first impressions, camera features, One UI 7.0, and other details over the following minutes. Okay, so first things first, let me unlock it. The screen has now smaller bezels by about 15%. It increased the diagonal from 6.8 inches to 6.9 inches. And let's just find the proper brightness here. Okay, so in the box you're not getting much. We haven't had a charger for years now. But let's see what we do get. So there's this key used to access the nano SIM card slots. And here we have the manual, very small one, focused on the SIM and whatnot, and a cable going from USB-C to USB-C. That's about it. Nothing else here. Minimalistic and compact packaging. Quite a few color versions this year. Titanium silver, titanium blue, titanium black, titanium pink, and the list goes on. White, pink, even green is a part of the package. Okay, let's actually put this manual better here and focus on the device. So it's supposed to be tougher than its predecessor by something as high as 30%. So yeah, much rougher when it comes to dropping it and having it survive. Okay, so let's talk about the design. The first thing you're going to notice is that the back cameras are more protruding now, perhaps because of the fact that the device is slimmer than its predecessor. 0.4 millimeters slimmer. It measures 8.2 millimeters, while the S24 Ultra was 8.6 millimeters. The device is also packing a screen with 15% slimmer bezels, as the diagonal has increased. It weighs only 218 grams, while the S24 Ultra was 232 grams. The screen is endowed with a special anti-reflection protection, which means that in the sun it should be easier to handle. Speaking of easier to handle, it's also narrower, which makes it comfier for your hands, something like 77.6 millimeter compared to the predecessor 79 millimeters in width. It's got IP68 dust and waterproof certification. You can sync it up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. Gorilla Armor 2 at the front for the screen protection, Gorilla Armor 2 at the back for the glass back protection, which is made, by the way, and doesn't do fingerprints. Titanium frame, grade 5, ultra resilient, and the colors include the silver, blue, black, white, silver, gray. There's also regular black, pink, gold, and more. So it's got also 29% higher durability compared to its predecessor. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, the panel you're seeing here. Okay, let's check into YouTube. Okay, so this is a 6.9-inch panel, which we're dealing with here, and it's compared to the predecessor 6.8-inch, 0.1 inch larger. It's a Dynamic LTPO AMOLED 2X with 120 Hz refresh rate and also HDR10 Plus support, up to 2600 nits of brightness, and it comes to a resolution which is 3120 over 1440 pixels. A lot of options here for brightness, extra brightness, motion smoothness, eye comfort, color tones, and whatnot. Now inside the phone you're going to find the familiar processor. It's the current hit Snapdragon 8 Elite, but in a special 4 Galaxy edition. It's a 3 nanometer CPU, but it's clocked higher. The main core is clocked at 4.47 gigahertz, and for example, the Asus ROG Phone 9 Pro has 4.32 gigahertz. We don't have a card slot here, we don't have audio jack, we don't even have a Bluetooth pen, which means you can only use the pen to draw, scribble, and write, but you can no longer use it for air commands, like controlling the camera from the distance, having the tip, the pointer on the screen, things like that. So if you want that, you have to buy a separate pen. No more gestures, basically. Now, other specs for the device, since we're back at them, we also have here 12 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. There's also a version with 16 gigs in other countries, and storage can be 512 or 1 terabyte UFS 4.0. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, things have not changed. It's still a 5000 mAh unit, lithium ion, supposedly from the Galaxy S26 series. We're about to get a silicon carbon battery in 2026. Now, it's the same battery as the S24 Ultra, still 45 watt wired charging, 25 watt wireless charging. Now it's QI2, which is good news, and you can even use reverse charging. You can put here a pair of headphones, a watch, or another phone to charge it wirelessly at 4.5 watts. We get stereo speakers, so there's this slit here at the top, and there's this slit at the bottom. Stereo speakers tuned by AKG with the promise of 32-bit audio. And in the screen, around this area, you can find an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, which works better with wet hands. On the connectivity front, the device provides you with 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, GPS, GLONASS, BDS, Galileo, QZSS. There's an USB-C port at the bottom. It's USB-C, let me see. So it's actually USB-C 3.2 with the promise of DisplayPort 1.2. We have ultra wideband. We don't have an infrared emitter at the top. And I should probably also mention that you have DeX and DeX wireless if you want to simulate an environment which mimics a Windows experience. You can see here we have DeX. So yeah, there's that. Now we have finally reached the camera department. Things have not changed very much except for the ultra wide camera. So in this punch hole here we have a 12 megapixel camera, selfie, f2.2 aperture, dual pixel phase detection autofocus. Basically it autofocuses on your face, 4K 60 frames per second capture, and HDR10+. At the back, once again, a more protruding camera with these 5 lenses here. We only have 4 cameras and extra sensor. This is the LED flash, for example. So the main camera remains a 200 megapixel shooter with f1.7 aperture, optical image stabilization, and multi-directional face detection autofocus. Then we have a 10 megapixel telephoto camera with f2.4 aperture, face detection autofocus, optical image stabilization, and 3x optical zoom. And then we have a 50 megapixel periscope camera, which is this one here. This one is offering 5x optical zoom. A trend started last year. Before that it was 10x optical zoom. Face detection autofocus, optical image stabilization, and it's supposed to be now able to shoot in 8K, just like the ultra wide, just like the main camera. And the brand new camera is the ultra wide 50 megapixel camera. The predecessor S24 Ultra had a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. It also has f1.9 aperture, which is more generous than the previous ultra wide, 120-degree capture, dual pixel face detection autofocus, and super steady video courtesy of it. So yeah. There's also a 10 megapixel telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom, aside from the periscope one, which is 50 megapixel. And finally, laser autofocus and LED flash. Once again, it shoots in 8K 30 frames per second with 3 out of 4 cameras. There's also 10-bit HDR, and some changes have happened in the camera interface, which is now more minimalistic. So here you can find the main modes, the extra modes actually: night, hyperlapse, pro video, slow motion. Single take now takes some extra shots with pre-recording and extra angles compared to the previous iteration of single take. There's a pro mode, panorama, dual rec, expert raw, food, and portrait video. In the video department, you can shoot up to 8K 60 frames per second, and you have extra options here, like this one, for example, a bunch of filters which can be applied. There's also auto framing, exposure setup, and of course super steady, which goes up to 2K 60 frames per second. Okay, this is the photo department. You can shoot photos at 12 megapixels, 50, 200. Here you have other extras. Once again, a bunch of beautification options, a bunch of filters, exposure, and motion photos. Motion photos will be helpful. It takes a series of shots even before you press the shutter, and you can choose the best face to achieve the properly good-looking selfie. This is the portrait area with the typical studio options like blur, studio, low key, high key mono, low key mono, backdrop, and color point. Yeah. Regarding what's new, so I showed you before the expert raw. Expert raw is now able to mess around with the aperture. So if you go to the lab section, press F, now you have a virtual aperture which can be set up from here. This is the aperture you're playing with. This is a feature that Huawei is providing. That's actual aperture to play with. I mean, physical aperture. Here we're only stuck with virtual aperture, but you can increase or decrease the level of blur of the background thanks to this feature. Of course, you have extras. You can play with the RAW files, JPEGs, and more. And another cool feature is that if you go into the Pro Video and you can do log capture. So with log capture, you can do colorization. Now, the regular log video shooting on the phone will be gray and boring and dull. But if you edit it, you can add colorization from your PC afterwards. There are some other nifty extras like exposure monitor, and this one, you can actually select the source of the sound with Bluetooth, USB, rear and front, and Omni. You can actually control the direction of the sound you're getting here. There's something called Pro Visual Engine, which is better when it comes to textures and nighttime capture. So yeah, things have happened a lot here. 10-bit HDR is now enabled by default, and you can deactivate it if you don't like it. So that's pretty much everything that's new camera-wise, except for maybe I missed one or two things. Now, as far as the software is concerned, this is One UI 7 applied on top of Android 15, which you can get a confirmation of here. Software, excuse me, actually this one, software information. Android 15, One UI 7.0, the promise of 7 years of Android updates, and something called Now Brief. Now Brief appears in 3 instances. There's the morning brief, there's the afternoon brief or midday brief, and the night brief. It's a collection of useful information which can also happen and appear on the lock screen if you want to, and you can have it as a now bar, placed wherever you want. You can have it handy. This is the now brief. So in the morning, you're getting the energy score, you're getting the weather and some useful information. At noon, you're getting the weather as I saw earlier. At night, you're getting a collection of photos taken during the day. So basically, it's an aggregation of things that may interest you according to the AI. And now we're getting to the actual AI. So first of all, we have Drawing Assist. Drawing Assist is available either in this palette here, or you can trigger it from the side if you want to. But basically what it does is that it helps you with your drawing. There are 3 instances of it. So if you draw something, I'm very poor at drawing, I should probably mention that. You can generate it as watercolor, illustration, pop art, oil painting, and more. You can also upload an image and turn it into a work of art, or just write words and use generative AI for that. Let's see, pop art version. Okay, so that's one of the things. Here I can go here to the images and upload myself, for example, and turn myself into a 3D cartoon. That's the Portrait Studio part of it. You can also do that with objects, but objects will be handled like the scribbling from earlier. Okay, and finally you can also do text. So let's put this from the side. Cat with a green hat on a beach. Okay, you can actually generate it as an illustration, for example. That's a cat with a green hat on a beach. It stuck to what I wanted. Okay, so that's the Drawing Assist. That's what happens here. And those are the modes you can play with. You can also try it as a sketch. Only you're not getting the green hat because it's black and white. Now, let's put the pen back in for a while and see what other AI features we have here. So, for example, if you draw this from the side, you have the AI Select. It selects what's on the screen, it reads it, and it allows you to interact with it. So if I circle this Play Store here, I can do a lot of things. Generative edit, find it on a map, translate it, copy it, share it, download it. So I can do a lot of things. One of the best things is that if you're watching a YouTube video, for example, and do that AI Select, you can actually turn it apart of the image into a GIF and save it for later use. It's very contextual. It all depends on what you're doing on the screen. It can also recognize phone numbers, and it can also recognize a lot more like addresses, web addresses, and more. Of course, circle to search is also available. So if I keep pressed here and do this, I can start looking up whatever. And for example, if I just ate a dish yesterday and you're curious about it, you can do this, circle it, and voila. Very similar, actually. I'm shocked by how similar the results are. Circle to search has gotten faster now, and it can do more things, as you can see here. Let's keep it pressed. You can search for songs, even songs playing in the background in a YouTube video or TikTok video, and you can also translate from the screen. You can actually detect the language. So yeah, circle to search has been slightly upgraded. And then there's Gemini. You can keep the power button on the side pressed. Write an essay about the Roman Empire.
The Roman Empire, a legacy of conquest and culture. The Roman Empire.
You can ask it questions and have it correct source code for you, generate images, and a lot more. Very natural language. And by the way, now searches happen in a very natural fashion. When you're searching an image or a setting, you can also use the vocal command, okay, while using the app. I want to search for a photo of food taken 2 days ago. So yeah, 2 days ago, these are all the photos of food taken here. And the same level of conversational search happens in settings. That's one of the upgrades that happen here. Speaking of settings, the quick settings menu is now, I would say, more clear compared to before. It's better organized compared to previous Android iteration. It's actually one of the best organizations you can find on Android. And other AI things, well, from the side, aside from the AI select, aside from now brief and drawing assist, you also have the interpreter. You can actually, okay, we'll give it all the permissions it needs. Okay. Now, thanks to the interpreter, you can chat to people in a variety of languages. There was a dozen at the start. So basically, one says something in a language and the other one gets it in German. So for example, how's the weather today? And I would like to know where's the closest restaurant. And that's German. This is a conversation mode. You can also have listening mode. So if there's a speech or a piece of news or something like that available, you're going to get translation instantly or almost instantly to get around in a new country. Okay, so that's it as far as the interpreter goes. There's more AI features. Obviously, the core is productivity. By the way, these are some sketches taken by a friend who's actually a painter. Okay, so if we have a piece of text, you can go here and press here. You have the auto format, summarize, spelling and grammar, or translation. But you can do other things to it. You can go here and the interface has changed. You now have spelling and grammar, writing style, and composer separately. So writing style can change. You can get rewrites in a different style, which you can choose. So you have the original, you have the professional, you have the casual, you also have the social media and the polite one. And other things like, let's see, spelling and grammar and composer. Composer actually starts writing, starting from a few keywords like a letter of resignation, like a, I don't know, a wedding invitation. These are the options: standard, email, social media, and comment, and polite. This composer can appear in Gmail, in Facebook posts, in WhatsApp, and more to help you with your writings. And just one example of what you can do here. Now, one of my favorite features from the brand new era of Galaxy AI is actually related to sound. So I was actually strolling through Bucharest and I actually walked here. There were people singing a song. There's also my voice, and if I go here, it's analyzing the sound, and I can mess with the voices, the music, or the noise. So if I want the music only, there's music now being played, and if I want to get rid of it, I can totally mute it. The music is completely gone. I can also amplify it, increase its volume. I can also get rid of my voice, which was available at the start, so my voice is here. My voice is gone now. So that's what the sound eraser can do. It's a new feature for Samsung. Like you do with the people eraser from the photos, you can also do that here. Speaking of which, let's actually try and do that. So there was a person at some point in a photo, this one here. Let's press this one. You can also draw around him. It identifies the person, and then you press this rubber and he's gone. You can also tap areas and bring the person's back if you want to, or remove objects or what have you. That's the power of AI, and from what I understood, some parts of this editing can also happen on device, not in the cloud anymore, which is pretty cool. Now, Circle to Search, which I mentioned before, can detect emails, email addresses, phone numbers, sites, offer suggestions, and more. Okay, so by the way, generative edit can happen without an internet connection. The browser has also been upgraded, so the browser now has, aside from summarize and translation, it can read highlights aloud.
A tense standoff between the US and Colombia ended when Colombia backed down on deportation flights
You also
after
have
a threat from Trump. Meanwhile,
You also have call translation, which is a feature previously available, and of course portrait studio if you want to generate people's faces. And there's an experience across apps. You can jump from app to app with your vocal commands, which I find to be pretty cool. Okay, so I would say that's pretty much it as far as the new phone is concerned. Some AI novelty, new ultra wide camera, some design changes, and of course the fact that you have virtual aperture and also log files to play with are improved when it comes to the iPhone alternatives for professionals. That's it from us. This is GSMDome.com. Very long unboxing. We'll be back with more soon. Goodbye.